G'day everybody, my name's Tom Freer and welcome to episode 9 of the AskTomTech show. This week we're going to have a chat about all things cybersecurity. Cybersecurity has been on everyone's sort of lips in the last few months. There's been lots and lots of media coverage about massive virus outbreaks, stolen software, stolen source code, stolen stuff from the NSA. Lots and lots of activity in that cyber and that security space. Now, how's this translating out to our clients? Well, look, it's critical to be on top of what's going on. A lot of the threats that are coming out and that are really being exploited at the moment are from vulnerabilities in software, mainly Windows, that have been around for a while. So Microsoft has patched and fixed the vulnerabilities, but because people aren't really getting on top of patching of their machines and updating, these things are spreading like wildfire and causing all sorts of problems. So we've seen the recent events, and they're what's called ransomware, which is essentially what happens when your data gets locked, it's encrypted, and someone's extorting you for money. So you got to pay them a big wad of cash, and they will supposedly give you the access code so you can de-encrypt all your data. The chances of that happening, few and far between. We've seen recent events where they've done this and been asked to send an email to get the encryption key, yet the ISPs and everything have blocked the email, so there's no chance of getting your data back. So how do you stop this happening? Look, I can tell you now, there is no silver bullet when it comes to cybersecurity. There are so many different components and different scenarios for organizations and networks and systems that one thing's not going to solve all your problems. But there are certain strategies that everyone can take to really minimize or reduce the risk of these sort of virus outbreaks happening, and particularly this ransomware style virus. They're really the big thing at the moment. If we look back years and years in the past, viruses were typically there to destroy a machine. They would wipe it out and all the data's gone. Or the machine's deemed irrecoverable. You have to rebuild the operating systems and all that. So they were a big threat. Virus software companies were right on top of that, and as long as you kept that updated, generally provided a really good level of cover for most situations. But what we're seeing now is these viruses and these ransomware and these Trojans are rapidly evolving, and they're sort of getting smarter and smarter to bypass traditional antivirus detection. Antivirus organizations are releasing updates and changes in the way they're doing things, and that's really helping. But you need to look at ways to sort of reduce it before it gets into your network, reduce that risk before things actually get into your system. So where we see great results is really looking at your email. Lots and lots of viruses are now born from email. Phishing scams. Here's this, can you click on this link to download your latest invoice, or we've noticed some suspicious activity on your account, click here to log in. They're what's called phishing attempts. Now, what they generally do is one of two things. They're either trying to get access to your details, your passwords, or there's a malicious sort of payload on the end of the link, which will download and execute and run a ransomware style virus, which will run and encrypt all your data and lock you out, ask for a ransom. So what you want to try and do is look at ways to limit and minimize that type of email getting into your business in the first place and getting to your users. People receive so much email that they're just clicking, going through, scrolling, clicking, and trying to process it all. That's where the mistakes happen. That's where the issues happen, is they've clicked on a link, bang, machine's infected. That's now spread to servers and all your data's encrypted and gone. If you can reduce the number of rubbish emails and spam emails and phishing emails coming into your organization, by default, you're going to reduce the risk that you have in getting that style virus. So what can you do? We sort of look at, before the email gets to your mail server, your mail system, is you want to scan for viruses, you want to scan for spam and phishing, and delete it. Just get rid of it before it even gets there. So that would be a hosted anti-spam gateway or a hosted antivirus solution, generally run by a third party who's not looking after your email. Outside, they check it, they scan it, all automated, and then send it off to your email server. So there's lots around that do that. Semantic, MailGuard, Mimecast, just to name a few. But they've got teams of people who are constantly assessing and analysing email and building recognition engines to just stop that spam coming through. So that's the first thing I'd look at. Stop the spam getting into your system. The next level is really protecting your network and what people are doing on the network. So that's at sort of the firewall and the internet level. So when people are accessing those links on those web pages, they go out, and if you look closely, they're generally to a dodgy looking website and domain name, or even an address, an IP address. What you want to be able to do is block all that sort of suspicious activity and suspicious sites. The ideal way to manage that is on sort of a firewall appliance or some sort of internet gateway / proxy server, which essentially will intercept all requests that are going out to the internet from staff. So when you're typing in the address or clicking on a link, this firewall or gateway will intercept that request and assess that link. So against known databases of malicious sites and dodgy sites, also against categories that a lot of the providers build. So the vendors will build and have sort of categories, and they will start categorizing websites, and you can categorize them as well. So block categories that are dodgy. I mean, porno and adult material and things like that should be blocked. Video streaming sites and things like that, block those in your business, because the pirate sites, software pirate sites, all that, they're all known addresses, and they can be blocked relatively easily. So that just limits where people are going and what they're doing, and limits the chance of them going to a dodgy site. What you can do then is take it to a next level and essentially block anything that's not categorized. Now, that will increase a bit of user frustration around, oh, this is a legitimate site and I need to do it. But what it's going to do is the fact that websites can be generated so quickly, and domain names and IP addresses, the viruses use those, so they're typically not categorized in the first place. So if you block anything that's not categorized, it means if a sus email comes through and a user clicks on it and that website isn't categorized by your system, it won't be allowed. So again, further reducing the risk. Included in that process, you should be doing virus scanning of all the web traffic and bits and pieces there. So that'll stop and block those dodgy sites. The third aspect is obviously maintaining good antivirus security on your desktops, making sure that's always updated, making sure it is a good, reputable product. Look, there are free ones out there. They're not ideal. You want to be using a really solid platform, Trend Micro, Semantic, Bitdefender, some big name providers. That's what they do. They specialize in that. They do it, they update it, and away it goes. Centrally managed, so it can be pushed out. You can identify which machines aren't being updated or which machines haven't got the software on there, so you need to be managing it as well. You also need to be continuing on that management side of things, is managing your patching on your machines, making sure that as those security updates are released, that you're able to push them out to all the machines on your network. Again, having visibility of that is going to be critical, so you know who has and hasn't got that update. So you can then attack that and do it manually if needed or whatever. But really, when it comes down to cybersecurity, doing all those things, again, is going to offer you good levels of protection. It's going to really reduce your chances of getting a virus, but it's not going to guarantee that they're not going to get through. The final sort of line of defense is making sure you've got backups in place. And that's not even a cyber sort of security discussion. That is just a general business best practice discussion. But the end of the day, the only way you're going to recover if your data is encrypted or lost via a cyber sort of incident is to have a good backup in place. You need to be backing up your data. You need to be backing it up regularly, daily. You need to be getting that data off-site onto a separate location, and that'll address things like disaster recovery and business continuity objectives as well. But you need to be doing backups. Viruses, if it hasn't happened, it's going to happen, unfortunately. That is the reality of it. You need to have these backups in place. You need to be monitoring your backups. You need to be testing that you can actually get the backup data back if something happens. And it just needs to happen. So that's your traditional cybersecurity approach, and that's the approach that we sort of look at for most organisations in that small to mid-size. Now, there's going to be additional things that you can be doing that you look at, and this is going to come down to your business, the type of business you're running, your risk profile, what your clients' expectations are around cybersecurity and data protection. We know some of our clients are in the finance space, and they've got legislative requirements from providers to make sure they're doing more, having more visibility and control. Clients they've got in sort of building services and construction, they've got really big amounts of IP and systems in there, so they want to make sure that that's protected and not being leaked and those type of things. So that's where you can start looking at intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, doing more high-level monitoring of your network to see where the data's going, what machines are connecting to what devices on the internet, and that will detect some pretty interesting stuff. There might be machines that are lying in the network that you didn't know about. Might be devices on the network that you didn't know about that are communicating out. There might be malware sort of on machines that's not necessarily getting detected by traditional methods, that's communicating to servers in China or Russia or something like that might be sending user information out. So those sort of things are sort of the next level of defense and the next level of prevention and investigation. Having that level of visibility around what the actual traffic on your network is doing will provide a much greater insight to any threats and vulnerabilities. Doing that on a continuous basis, you'll have a lot better pickup if something sus is happening on the network. Someone's doing something dodgy. Someone's trying to attack your servers. Who's trying to log on to your remote servers? Are you tracking the audits and the event logs and all those type of things? So there's this whole other aspect of monitoring and looking at systems and looking at logs to get a feel for what's going on. That is time consuming, but doable with the right systems and the right tools, but something that needs to be done on a consistent basis. So a lot of the other stuff is preventative measures. So that's about what can we do to stop things happening in the first place. We've then got our backup strategy, which is if and when it does happen, we can recover, we can get that data back. Yep, there's going to be some interruption depending on how your systems are set up, but you can get that data back. And then the sort of end part to that is getting a little bit more advanced and starting to get predictive on what's happening on the network. Are people actually trying to hack your network? Have you got visibility to that? Is there something running inside your network that you didn't know was running? Is there stuff or applications on users' PCs that is communicating with what could be classed as suspect servers in known troublesome spots like Russia and the Ukraine and China? So it's a full process to get your cybersecurity right, but you need to start. That's the bottom line. And the best way to start is with your infrastructure side of things. Your spam and your email and your virus, firewalls and web content protection, patching and antivirus on your desktops, and backup. If you do nothing else, they are going to be the key parts to managing and reducing your cyber risk. And then depending on your circumstances, depending on where you're going, and we're going to see a lot more of this happening just by nature of the viruses, and a lot more of this is going to be needed over the coming years. And this is the preventative, the intrusion detection, the intrusion monitoring. What is actually happening on the network? Where is data going? What are PCs and servers communicating with, both in and out? And how do we restrict that footprint? So, yeah, it's quite a challenging thing, the whole cyber environment. But don't overcomplicate it. Focus on some of those key things. Get some quick wins on the board and restrict what's going on. We've seen some great results where organisations have had ongoing issues with ransomware attacks and things like that, and implementing just some of the spam and the firewall protection has essentially stopped that happening. So we've significantly reduced the impact to those businesses and significantly reduced the number of events that are happening. And people are a lot more aware of what's going on as well. And that's really important, is to be aware of what you're clicking on, what you're opening, what sites you're going to. So cybersecurity, it's a big challenge, but something that can be done. Start reducing the risk throughout your business, and you'll feel a lot safer with what's going on. So yeah, hit me up if you've got any questions about the cybersecurity. If you've got any questions about anything else, feel free to contact me on Facebook, Twitter. I'm now on Snapchat. So yeah, have a look and we'll go from there. But yeah, have a good one. Thanks.